Lutter contre la malnutrition, c'est lutter contre la pauvreté. Yeah. La nutrition, près du développement durable. Lutter contre la malnutrition, c'est lutter contre la pauvreté. La nutrition, près du développement durable. Lutter contre la malnutrition, c'est lutter contre la pauvreté. La nutrition, c'est l'affaire de tous, de tous, de tous.
Malnutrition bagamba ni problemu ikulu sana mu Zambia. Eirele ngabana bali kulaba tosa.
Due to this, their brains will not grow properly, they are not enjoying good health, in school they will not perform well, and in future they are likely to earn less money, simply because they lack good nutrition. Emuke makitu.
Daliso, mwana wa mukomboni.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes' time. There was a number of headsets that went missing yesterday, about 17 pairs. They're reasonably expensive, so at the end of the day, could you just check your bags and make sure that all of the headsets have been returned? Some people may have accidentally taken them home. So 17 headsets for translation have gone missing. Just keep an eye out for those if you accidentally took them back with you. And we'll get started very shortly. Thank you.
Special days. Awa ndi masiku oyambirira chikwi chimodzi moyo womwana. Kuyambira pamene mayi ayima kufikira mwana wobadwayo atakwanitsa zaka ziwiri. Mwana amene sanadye chakudya choyenera nthawi iyi amakhala wopinimbira moyo wake wonse. Izi zimabwezera mbuyo kuthekera kwa mwanayo pa ntchito zosiyanasiyana monga maphunziro, masewera, kagwiridwe ka ntchito zamanja zimene zimabwezeretsa mbuyo kutukuka kwa dziko. Tiyeni tigonjetse vuto lopinimbira, 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 tiyeni tigonjetse vuto lopinimbira. Dadi kutetselatu vuto lopinimbira, dadi kutetselatu vuto lopinimbira.
Mayi amene akukonzekera kukhala ndi pakati akuyenera kujaza kasinthasintha kuti akhale ndi moyo wathanzi komanso mwana wodzabadwayo adzakhale wathanzi. Amayi oyembekezera adye zakudya zobatsatazi zochokera m'magulu onse asanu ndi limodzi azakudya zomwe zimapezeka kudera lawo tsiku ndi tsiku zakudya monga izi: gulu la zanyemba, nandolo kobwe, gulu la zanyama, ziwala mbewa, gulu la zamafuta, mapeyala mtedza, gulu la zipatso, thochi mango, gulu la zamasala.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start very shortly. Okay, I'd like to start maybe, or firstly, hope all of you had an enjoyable evening, whether at the reception, the very nice reception hosted by Sight and Life, or elsewhere last night. I think we had a very good day yesterday. I think we had two outstandingly good plenary sessions. And then in the afternoon, we had the meetings of the networks. David and I managed to get to each of the networks and felt that there was a real sense of engagement and positivity and energy at each of them. So I think that's what we're bringing back into the meeting as we start today. I have two items of, if you like, housekeeping or practicality, which I'd like to mention. Firstly, at the end of the day last evening, the Secretariat noted that 7 headsets had not been returned. Now, we take it that this is just inadvertence, that some people may have maybe put their headsets in their bags, leaving and didn't realise it, but we obviously either we want those headsets back, or if you're just going to continue using them today, fine, but ensure they're back with the Secretariat at the end of the session of today. The second issue is that you will see outside in the corridor copies of the Global Nutrition Report. Now, I think for anybody attending this meeting, this is really required reading. If you haven't read this document, you're missing a great deal. It is a document of outstanding quality, building on the first Global Nutrition Report, which was launched in Rome last November. And this document and this report is going to become, in my view, the authoritative source on the topic of nutrition in the years ahead. So I think you might as well get in at the beginning. And there are copies here for anyone who doesn't have a copy. There are copies available, and please avail of them. We're going to spend our first session, plenary session this morning, on the very important topic of empowering women and girls across the SUN movement. Now, this issue, David said when he came back to the podium for a special addition to his summary yesterday, he said this is such an important issue, and it is such an important issue. It's a topic that was commented upon in the independent comprehensive evaluation. There was a sense that where we had used during the first 5 years, we had used a certain amount of the right words about empowering women and girls within the SUN, we hadn't put in place sufficiently strong measures to do so. And the strategy draft strategy for 2016 to 2020 makes a reference to changing that, makes a reference to putting into effect a stronger commitment to this issue. And it's something, an issue that has been highlighted by a number of the members of the lead group throughout its existence. In particular, I would say by Mary Robinson, who's been a great champion of this topic, but others as well. And so this morning's session was put very deliberately into the programme of the global gathering as an indicator of the importance of the topic. And so it's with great pleasure that I ask David to again come up and take the role as facilitator for this session. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry about the traffic holding you up, and thanks for being here. Today, as yesterday, we've got a really interesting but also busy plenary session for you. We know that scaling up nutrition does not succeed unless the gender dimensions and the importance of empowering women are put right at the center. And today in this plenary, we're asking ourselves, how can we do that better? We have a panel, but we also have space for you to engage. For example, one of the challenges we'll look at is child marriage and adolescent pregnancy. At least 35,000 instances a day. And yesterday, Abdoulaye Carr talked about Maria-Bernardita in Senegal and how she, married at a young age, had an underweight and malnourished child, and so not only was her own life impaired, but also that of her child. What we're going to focus on is how to get women right at the center of all the efforts of the movement. How can the SUNGG movement, particularly the networks and platforms in some countries, make it happen? I'm going to invite the panelists to come up, and as they talk, you're going to be very brief. I'm going to invite them to give their messages to the movement about the empowerment of women. So if you'd like to start coming up, I'd like to introduce as they walk up. First of all, Joan Matji, Regional Nutritional Advisor for Eastern and Southern Africa for UNICEF. Then Marc van Ameringen, Executive Director of the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition and member of the SUNGG Movement Executive Committee. And then Maria-Bernardita Flores, Assistant Secretary of Health in the Philippines and Executive Director of the National Nutrition Council. And she's a broadcaster. And then Maritza de Oliva, Oficial de Nutrición for the World Food Programme in Guatemala. And then Honourable Tolagele Kumalo, Member of Parliament in Zimbabwe. She said don't call her honourable, but I think super honourable. Thank you for joining us. And then Bibi Giyosi, Senior Nutrition Officer for FAO, previously in NEPAD. Welcome, Bibi. And then Aminata Shamit Koroma, Director, Ministry of Health and Sanitation for Food and Nutrition in Sierra Leone. And then Charles Mazinga, Deputy Director for Nutrition in the Ministry of Gender in Malawi. And then Ibu Nina Sarjunani, who is SUNGG Movement Focal Point for Indonesia and also member of the SUNGG Lead Group. We would like to welcome you all and give you a hand. Thank you for joining us today. So as I said, I'm asking our panelists to start by giving their messages to the movement. And as they're talking, I want you to be thinking about your messages for the movement about how better to get empowerment of women and girls into our work. And so first of all, Joan Matji, from your perspective, and if you can find a microphone, there should be one near you. We will get you one. Can we pass one down? Thank you. Joan Matji, from your perspective, why is it important to empower women and girls for nutrition?
Thank you very much, David, and good morning to the audience. I'd like to start with a very provocative quote that was made about a month ago at the launch of the SDGs. And the quote reads, "The true measure of our success in achieving the SDGs will be in every child lifted out of poverty, through every mother who survives childbirth, every girl who does not lose her childhood to early marriage." I think it's highly provocative in that if one looks at the first 5 goals of the SDGs, they all have a significant impact on improving the livelihoods of women and adolescent girls. However, I want to bring to your attention that our concern remains as UNICEF, because we know that within those SDG goals, there's no specific reference to maternal nutrition-related goals, highlighting the importance, for example, of reducing the prevalence of anemia. And I think that this is very important. We should keep it in mind as the SUN network. In essence, empowering women is not only for gender equality and improving the social status of women, but as a mechanism for us all to work towards the SDGs achievements. The facts that face women and adolescent girls is that Sub-Saharan Africa is expected to have more adolescents than any other region by 2050. And we know that almost a third of adolescent girls of school ages in Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and West Asia do not attend school. At the same time, maternal mortality rates, yes, have decreased globally since 1990. However, it remains very high in many countries and is short of the 75% target for the MDGs. We also know that women aged 10 to 19 years of age, women aged 15 to 49 years of age, amongst them 10 to 19% have a very low BMI and are of low stature. At the same time, we live in a global context where there's up to 75% of obesity amongst adult women on our planet. At the same time, the Global Nutrition Report provokes us with statistics that read that the proportion of women who received iron folate for 90 days or more is only 29. So whilst we acknowledge that it's important to focus on adolescent women and children, we know that we're far from reaching those goals. We need much more gender and age disaggregated data on women and adolescents. And we need specific interventions, especially using the SUN planning mechanisms that focus on adolescent girls and women. And we need to be strengthening the legal frameworks, such as Every Woman, Every Child, A Promise Renewed, CEDAW, the Convention Against All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and make sure that all of these legal frameworks are talking to each other and that they explicitly make mention or make a focus on women and adolescent girls. And lastly, as was mentioned yesterday, the focus on grandmothers and the focus on community level and household level interventions that will lead to greater empowerment of adolescent girls and women is central to our focus. And I believe that the SUN movement can play a key role in helping countries achieve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joan. Wonderful. Could we now go to Marc van Ameringen and invite him to talk about adolescent girls and women in the SUN movement?
Thank you, David. Good morning. The SUN draft strategy calls on us really to move from broad statements to where are we going to have some real action. And I think really means that we have to look at where do we think we can get the biggest impact. And there are 3 areas which I would just like to put on the table if we really want to get a lot more serious. And the first is really we need to actually identify in each of the SUN structures half a dozen champions or leaders who are going to drive this agenda around empowering women and girls forward. So that means in each network, in each national platform, we actually have a handful of key champions. If they're not there, we should bring them on board. If we are there, we need to give them a clear mandate to drive this forward. And when we sit down here next year, we should have those champions reporting back on how what they've achieved. The second big win, I think, is us having, in the roadmap process at the country level, a much more explicit target on women food producers, women-led SMEs, and women entrepreneurs. there's a particularly big win in linking those to smallholder farmers. So we talk about it. There's a lot of examples of where we can get very concrete and bring these front and center into our strategies. The last big win, and this is really where, if we want to reach the most women possible, it's really looking at the workplace and the workforce. We began this, I think David led this in the early Nutrition for Growth process. We haven't made a lot of progress, but that's where we have many areas of employment where we have women and adolescent girls make up 80% of the workforce. Some of us are already working on these, like in the garment industry in Bangladesh, or around value chains like cocoa, coffee, which are all dominated by women. So those are the three big wins. Let's identify those leaders, and in each of our structures, let's focus much more on targeting women food producers, SMEs, and entrepreneurs, and let's bring the workplace back onto our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marc. Let's now move to Maria-Bernardita Flores to talk about the power of media to impact on the nutrition of girls and women.
Thank you very much, David, and good morning to everyone. The Philippines has established a policy and coordinating body on women called the Philippine Commission on Women. And we also have a law that requires national and local governments to mainstream gender in policies, plans, and programs, as well as allocate at least 5% of its budget for gender and development. The National Nutrition Council, also a policy and coordinating body on nutrition with a full-time secretariat that I head, actively uses media to promote nutrition with a conscious effort to mainstream gender issues, including use of gender-fair language. The use of mass media is complemented with social media, interpersonal communication, and capacity building of nutrition implementers at the local level. We established 35 community radio stations solely for promoting nutrition and community development in areas not reached by commercial radio and those that have high malnutrition rates. And we partnered with local governments or the state university or the academe. We use popular media platforms and text messaging to encourage listeners to ask questions during or after the program. The programs are aired over the internet, through live streaming, and also one is accessible through YouTube and cable as well as satellite TV. We also use television as a channel for nutrition promotion, but because of the high cost, we partnered with a foundation of a multimedia network that covered the cost of airtime while, as part of its corporate social responsibility, while my office covered the cost for production. So in conclusion, mass media programs are more empowering when these include feedback mechanisms that allow the audience to seek more information on nutrition. Mass media is intended to complement other nutrition interventions, and although mass media requires huge investments and its impact difficult to evaluate, the NNC continues to invest or use mass media because of the positive feedback from both the listeners and viewers. Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful. Remember the word feedback. It's lovely. Thank you very much. And now to Maritza de Oliva from Guatemala. You have the floor, Maritza.
Gracias. Buenos días. Voy a hablar en español.
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak Spanish. When in countries like Guatemala, my country, we have a prevalence of 49.8% of chronic malnutrition, and in rural areas we actually reach more than 70%. When our mortality rate for delivery is more than 143%, and we know that 5 out of 10 adolescents before turning 20 have already been pregnant, and when 62% of women native women don't have access to education, you immediately understand that to be successful and to win over malnutrition, we need a sine qua non condition, i.e. actions to be able and reduce the inequality gap existing in our country. I was asked to talk about health and nutrition. Well, it's interesting to say that usually we know that when we speak of gender, we speak of a problem in relationship between men and women, and we know it is important to focus on this, and we know it is extremely important to monitor the situation. It's important to monitor what's happening. Are we doing something to try and go against the hidden violence that makes women not refer to health services or not participate to education within the community, education activities within the community because they're not allowed by their man, in inverted commas? So this makes us think about the idea of actually a rising awareness amongst everybody during the whole life cycle, women, men, yes, but also adolescents, both males and females, children, both males and females, so that we can be successful in the end to actually reduce this replication of gender inequality so as to create a virtuous cycle of nutrition where little girls can have better access to nutrition and to education and health, and so that they can actually grow with the potential of becoming mothers and give birth to new healthy generations.
I just want to pick up two words that you said, hidden violence, and to hold on to that one, linking to the issues that we've talked about before around justice. Now I'd like to go to, and I'm going to get it absolutely right, Tolokele Kumalo. Tolokele, please talk to us about women in decision-making in your experience. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
And talk close to the microphone. It's very directional. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to show in a different way somehow how women succeed, or when they are in decision making, what should be done to them. When we are in decision making, for example, I'm in parliament, people are expecting me to know everything. But the unfortunate thing is that when I go to people within SUNGG or within whichever department and ask for information, yet they want me to talk on their behalf and make their program successful. That data is not there. They are not willing to give me the data. For women in decision making to be effective, be part of them. Let them be part of you. Give them information so that when they talk, whether they talk about gender, whether they talk about nutrition, they know what nutrition is. For example, I have been here this yesterday and today. I still don't know what nutrition is. Nobody has really explained what this nutrition children stunted. What is it? I'm sorry, I am a true nutritionist trained by Professor Bender, but when we talk about nutrition, we think everybody knows nutrition. Can we give the information so that when I carry the issue of nutrition, I can say, this is it, this is it. What reduces malnutrition? What causes malnutrition? I should have papers to say. I am talking as a nutritionist, but I am talking as a member of parliament who has no information now. I am dependent on somebody to give me information to go and talk about. We want women in decision making. Now, if I am there as a member of parliament, I have no information. I don't know. I just talk and say, there is malnutrition in your area. There is good nutrition in your area. What do I mean? Can I carry you around so that when I speak from informed from informed manner, not just talking. It should not only concern women. When we say women in decision making, which are supported by men, so therefore we work together with men. Let us make also the men we are working with to understand, to appreciate our presence as women in decision making. We will only be appreciated when we are given information by those who are supposed to be working with us. If we are going to stand there and blunder and say nothing because we have no information, why are women there? Do you see who are there? They don't know what they are talking about. Therefore, it is essential for us to have information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Honourable. And now, in fact, I was hoping that, Bibi, you could actually react directly to what our colleague Tolkalele has just said. What, in your view, is the best way to empower decision makers so that they can work on behalf of women?
Thank you very much, David. Good morning, everybody. I think the first point to make very clear is that food and nutrition security is actually any and every woman's preoccupation in terms of decision making. When women have to think about what they decide, the first and foremost thing they think is, my family well fed? Are my children nourished? How do they do that? Women form the bulk of smallholder farmers. Yet when it comes to technologies, when it comes to tools, these tools are not gender sensitive. They are not tailored to fit a woman's challenges on the ground. It's interesting that even though women are the providers and girls eventually are providers, this is the very group that is very vulnerable and very disadvantaged. And let's not forget that only women can breastfeed. Only women can provide such life. So, what can we do going forward to ensure that there's actually the space for women to be empowered, to deal away with the original or traditional inequities and inequalities when it comes to women and how they can feed their families? I believe we are living in some very interesting times. And let us learn also from the failures of the MDGs. In the wake of the SDGs now, I think we have a great opportunity to do things and business differently. If military warfare could have changed over time on the basis of appropriate technology, why can't we have similarly appropriate technologies that serve women better to be able to put better food, diverse food on the table? I think for Sun to succeed, we have to take a few steps back to say, what are we doing around and with data collection, information, and disaggregation? Are we really reaching to the communities out there? Because we don't want to have an incestuous relationship where we are only talking to ourselves. Are we talking to the woman on the ground? Are we talking to the people out there who need the information more than we sitting in this room? So let's think around that. Let's think further. Tools, technologies, information sharing, and true empowerment, not just lip service to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for reminding us of some realities that have got to be taken into account. And now, building on what Bibi has just said, I'm asking Aminata Shamit Karoma to give her perspective on how to empower women and girls at community level.
Thank you, David, and good morning, everyone. Women at community level, women are very, very strong. What they need, they're very strong and they're vulnerable. So what we need to do is to try to create the enabling environment, provide them with the tools to empower them. We use the in Sierra Leone, we use the mother-to-mother support groups at community level. That is where we have experienced mothers that are identified by the community to work with inexperienced mothers in areas of health, WASH, agriculture, screening, income generation. Because when you build these mothers, they have decision power. They don't walk behind the men, they walk beside the men. And they are the building blocks. They are the strong feelers that hold the communities together. So, and they are the very important implementers for all our programs. And we also include education in the package because we know that they need the education to make meaningful decisions in the household and in the community as large. The mothers, the experienced mothers, the mother-to-mother support group, they link the community with the health facility, which is very, very important. It's been a very difficult gap, but now that we have these experienced, trained lead mothers in the community, that link is filled now. And we can also, in Sierra Leone, we credit the mother-to-mother support group to our increase in exclusive breastfeeding rate from 32% in 2010 to 58% in 2014. And we saw this at work during the peak of our Ebola crisis. The women, we had the no-touch policies where the health workers were not touching the children. The mothers were doing the self-screening. The mothers practically sustained the nutrition program at community level. So it is very important that if we give them the tool, they're so powerful, they're so strong, they will carry on with it. In fact, the mothers at community level are asking us now not to call them grassroots women anymore. They're community actors. So they're empowered now to tell us what they are and not the other way around. Thank you.
Just to say, everybody, guess who were the community level leaders in the fight against Ebola in Sierra Leone? The women. Thank you, Aminata. And now to Charles Mazinga, Deputy Director for Nutrition in Malawi on ending child marriage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are policymakers here. We are nutritionists here, globally. We have showcased our activities behind. It means that we are in a society which is malnourished. And we are producing or having children who are malnourished. We are working and we are having low production. Definitely, we are also getting poor economic growth. This is a vicious cycle. This vicious cycle, it requires a certain point that we need to break. Malawi case study, we are saying starting from girls. Why girls? A child born to a woman, a mother, who is having good nutrition, who has taken this particular child or feed this particular child well throughout 100 days, we are going to have a healthy child, a child who can go to early childhood development, completes school early, gets high job, paying job, and enters this cluster of policy-making decision. How can we develop this particular girl? Ending early marriages could be a solution, but how? We have got international legal instruments, CEDAW, Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CRC, Convention on Child Rights. These international instruments have been domesticated in Malawi context, having Marriage, Divorce, Family Relations Act. This act has mandated Minister of Gender to mainstream these into programs in the ministry. The idea is to make sure that girls are in school. By keeping them girls in school, they are delaying their marriages. Indeed, findings are showing that 65% of girls are now back to school. 38% they have reduced their sexual debate. 65% we have seen HIV transmission reduction among girls. Girls are now in school. That's the entry point that we can break the vicious cycle of malnutrition, then scaling up nutrition. If we target a girl, 46% of the population in Malawi is children. That's our potential to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much indeed. And now to Ibunina Sarjanani on why social protection is a key approach to empowering women and girls.
Thank you, Pak David. Indonesia has 2 social protection programs that have specific aims to increase the empowerment of women to ultimately scaling up nutrition. First, Community Empowerment National Program that provides microcredit program for women, which has successfully encouraged women's participation in economically productive activities and increased household income that women are able to control. Besides that, it is also provided women's saving and loan programs to increase their access to cash, and the program also encouraged women to be more involved in the community decision by making it compulsory to obtain proposals from women's group. Second is the Family Hope program that target the same vulnerable women and children that are also at greatest risk of undernutrition. This program provides cash transfer to women in poor families that are conditional on pregnant women and under 5 children receiving health and nutrition services, and the school-age children attending school. We have also a pilot program, as we call it PKH Prestasi, to identify ways to be more nutrition sensitive, which is underway. And if I may sum it up, social protection programs really could help empower women and girls that indeed ultimately scaling up nutrition. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Could we give the panel a really big hand for particularly continuing the habit that we have in this global gathering of being able to make clear messages with extraordinary precision. At the end, we will summarize because they are extremely precise, but to help us get there, we are going to have now an interactive discussion. My colleague Unfanat from the Secretariat on my right is telling me of some of the names of people who want to speak. Now, it'd be really good if you are going to speak, if you could catch our attention, particularly look for Unfanat. And Unfanat, there are hands going up in the middle here, all over, right, particularly in the middle area. And so we will do our best to be equitable. First of all, Mary Mananda, you caught our attention. Your minute starts now.
Thank you very much.
And you're not audible, so as soon as we can hear you, your minute starts. Somebody will turn the microphone up. Try again.
Am I on? Yes,
yeah, you're on.
I'm Mary Mananda, the UN REACH facilitator in Myanmar.
Talk louder.
I want to make a comment and support the words about information, the need for information and types of information. I would like to suggest that we revisit the WHO Commission on the Social Determinants of Health work, where there was a Women and Gender Equity Knowledge Network. And over a period of months, experts from all over the world, including civil society, pulled together a lot of information, mainly qualitative information, on a lot of these issues touching on health. And we need to look at what there was on nutrition and maybe link in with some of those experts. And the issue about the quality research, making sure that we understand that not everything that counts can be counted, and to find more creative ways of hearing women's voices, bringing women's voices into new ways of dialogue and contested debate, using participatory research and video. And that provides information, but in the process of empowering women, training them in these methodologies, it also becomes part of the empowerment process.
Thanks very much indeed. Very good, very clear. Could we now go on to Fitsum Asifa, who's from working in Niger, and who I met on the train coming to the global gathering. Fitsum, you have the floor. Please stand up, and your mic should work.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for a very,
talk loud,
very stimulating presentation. I work in Niger, where really when we look at the source and the cause of malnutrition, it really is very much linked to young marriage and pregnancies and children giving birth themselves. We have not quite found how we move forward, but I would also like to support my colleague from Zimbabwe who has talked about information. As nutritionists, as policymakers, as technical people, we can only show the evidence how undernutrition is linked to the issues of the girls and early marriages, and through that we continue to advocate, but really we have not really found how we can push through this very, very complex issue in a context of Niger.
Thank you very much indeed. Now let's pass the microphone around in the middle. If we can have mics quickly out. First of all, lady in red. You have the floor.
En español, voy a hablar en español.
I will speak Spanish. From civil society in Guatemala, we analyze the situation, the actual situation, what young girls experience in the ground. And we've understood that we need to articulate between nutrition and what happens in the world of education. As was said before here, when young girls marry when they are 14, when they have children when they are 12, 13, 14 years of age, well, this means that we need to really deal with those issues in a comprehensive way, in an approach that includes protection, safeguarding, and not simply nutrition. We need to talk about the sobriety of young girls, and especially we need to talk about young girls who may not come to the end of their education process. So we need an overall approach.
Candida from Save the Children in Guatemala. Thank you. Who's got a microphone around here? Okay, gentlemen, yeah. We'll try to get lots of people to speak. Say your name, please.
My name is Kwabina Apia Pinkra from Ghana, a parliamentarian. I think I should side with my fellow parliamentarian, the lady from Zimbabwe. We need information to do the work that we have to do on behalf of the movement.
Look at the audience, yeah.
We believe very strongly that if the information does not come to the parliamentarians or the policymakers, you will not get anything through. Laws are made by parliaments. We support the idea that things must be changed. And when change has to come, it has to come through us. So we need that sort of information support. The other side of my story is that we are talking about nutrition, undernutrition and others. The problem is poverty. The issue of poverty brings about nutrition, undernutrition, malnutrition and others. I'll be glad if we concentrate also on poverty issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Just, I would like you to notice that when our colleague from Ghana was speaking and he looked at the camera, the appearance on the screen was beautiful. So always look that way when you are talking. Who else wants a microphone near here? Madam, waving her hand on your left. Oh, you made the mess of that one. Quickly. If you're slow, I'll shorten your time. Yep, off you go.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Where?
There. Camera behind you.
Okay, I'm Kou Bao, Director of Nutrition from Liberia. Just to comment on what the panelists have said, we may have a very different situation. We have initiated the Essential Nutrition Action Program in Liberia. We already scaled up to health facilities, and now we are targeting communities. We've realized that when you include the grandmothers who are now the TTMs, they are able to make things happen at the community level. They are decision makers. TTM. When the child is born, the first food the child eats at the community level in Liberia is to take a handful of water, warm water from the mother. But that we were able to change Today, we have reduced or increased our exclusive breastfeeding from 28% in 2010 to 55%. So you see, if we include grandmothers as much as possible in a different intervention, they are able to make things happen for us.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. What's a TTM?
TTM, trained traditional midwives.
Thank you, trained traditional midwives, excuse me. And we have a speaker here, somebody known to you. It's a man for a change. Werner.
Good morning. I would like to follow up on the comment made by Joan Matji on
loud.
the SDGs. Yes, we have a target for nutrition, but it's only 1 out of 169. And there is a great risk that that target will be followed by only 2 indicators: obesity rates in kids and stunting in kids. It means that the incredible importance of women's nutrition will not be officially monitored through the SDGs. I would like to call upon the Sun movement that we strongly advocate with decision powers, the statistics bodies of the UN, to include more nutrition indicators for the nutrition SDG.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. There you go, you got a clap. William. And then I'm going to do lots of women over in this place here.
Thank you, David.
William.
Excellent contributions from the panelists. I just want to mention 3 things. Number one is that we have to ensure direct participation of women, adolescent girls in nutrition efforts at all levels. And the second thing is that let's get traditional leaders get involved in sensitizing issues around nutrition as well as adolescent girls' issues. And then let us also try to ensure that we create champions in men and boys around issues of nutrition and adolescent issues. Thank you so much.
William, thank you. And lovely precision, brief. Lady in the middle there, you have the microphone. First, lady behind you. Yep, you've got the floor first.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dero Weeks. I'm with the Ministry of Agriculture, Liberia, heading the Food and Nutrition Security Division. I don't think we could have had a better panel this morning because all of what has been said has all been linked together. There is a need for data. There is a need for sharing information. There is a need for letting our rural population know, our rural women know that there is something called nutrition. There is something called better nutrition. There is something called food diversity. I'm presently working along with the UN Women on a project called Accelerating Growth towards Rural Women Empowerment. And you find out that as you go out into the rural communities, that the thinking is still the same, where the man gets the best part of the food, and the woman and the children, they get nothing. They have whatever is left over. So there is a lot of work for us to do if we will scale up nutrition, and we need the help of everyone in here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would totally agree. Having worked in your country a lot recently, I'm afraid I'm seeing the same stuff. Madam?
Good morning. I'm going to speak in Portuguese.
See. Wait 1 minute. 1 second. Segundo.
Prego. Please. My name is Fanzeni, and I come from Guinea-Bissau. It's the second time we participate in the Sun Movement meeting, and I want to talk about men's training, because we often talk about the idea of educating women, of training women, but in this way we do not guarantee equity or balance. We talk about religious leaders, professors, or MPs, and it's them who, define the laws. Because when a 15-year-old girl has to marry, then it's her father who's going to decide who she's going to marry. It's a father who decides that she needs to get married. And so we need to teach men what they have to do. And when the girl will have a baby, it's the husband who decides when she'll have to stop to breastfeed. So when we talk about nutrition, we need to think about how, and we need how to explain to our men in our different countries what nutrition is all about and why women must be at the very core of this subject.
Madam, introduce, please. Thank you.
En español.
Sí.
Mi nombre es Eugenia.
My name is Eugenia Vicholao. I come from Costa Rica. Mine is a program for protection, education, and nutrition from women and girls. I come from Costa Rica. So one of the issues we mainly work on is how to guarantee empowerment of women and girls so that they can come to a decision-making process, that they can actually work for their own rights. When we talk about preventing the second or third delivery, say, or pregnancy, we understand that obviously if they have no children, they don't have much to do. They live in rural areas and they live in areas that don't have access to transportation, for instance. So there's no other alternative. There's no other choice than having babies, even when they're very young. So we wonder, what can we do to actually hear the voice of these girls, of these young women? We need to listen to them. We should never forget what we can do with adults as well. Obviously, adolescents have their own voice, have their own ideas, but we adults must offer them different projects and different alternatives.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Tania Cedillo de la Secretaría Inclusiva.
I come from Salvador, Tania Sevillo. We have different very interesting programs. In my opinion, empowerment is of fundamental importance to allow everybody to understand what women's rights are. They have rights to nutrition. And I invite you all to have a look at our programs we have in El Salvador. One of these is called Citadon. We work together with 17 public institutions, and all of them are developing policies focusing on gender, and this with the idea of developing action, real action. We want to fight against violence. We want to guarantee education to everybody so as to guarantee a support to women and girls. Empowerment for women and girls is very important because we need to allow women to understand what their rights are to have a better life.
Passing the microphone round there. There's a group of people who want to speak. We've got time for 3 more. Madam, you have the floor now.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Togo Sibia from the University of Swaziland. I am coordinating a project named Empowering Women and Youth through Income Generation Skills for Sustainable Development. And this is a project that we are doing together with the government of Finland and with an NGO called Mother Association. The project is a 3-year project. It started in 2012, and it's coming to an end this December. We have 24 groups that we are working with in the communities, and these groups are entrepreneurs. These entrepreneurs, we are trying to sharpen their skills so that they can have their products into the marketplace and improve their economy or income. The project is coming to an end, and I am feeling like the women have improved their lives, their nutrition has improved, but we're hoping to extend it. Unfortunately, Finland has changed government. Therefore, we feel like there is no hope of extending to another 3 years. So I am here pleading that if there is anyone who can pick this up in the next 3 years.
There you go. Very clear. Thank you for your message. Alan, give me 2 more speakers from here. Merci. I'm looking forward. We've had no contribution in French in this session. So could anybody who's going to speak in French put their hand up? Okay, you'll give her the mic as well. Sir, you have the floor.
Good morning. This is
Attends deux moments. Oui.
This is Mustafa Farooq Al-Banna from Food Planning Monitoring Unit, Ministry of Food, Bangladesh. I would like to say some interesting findings from recently published Bangladesh undernutrition mapping and Bangladesh poverty mapping. The findings shows that in Bangladesh, some areas, the stunting rate is very high, although the considering poverty situation is better, but stunting rate is very high. This is the due to cause of lack of women education. This is a recent published document from Bangladesh. So I would like to say that nutrition-sensitive activities like women education and women empowerment and other activities should be strengthened to overcome the undernutrition and malnutrition situation in the world and in different countries, so that SUNGG Global strategy can take necessary actions to communicate, to address these issues.
Showing us the data. And now, Madam is not speaking in French. She's going to speak in Russian. Put your headphones on if you don't understand Russian.
Thank you very much. Я буду говорить на русском языке.
I'll be speaking Russian. I represent Tajikistan, and I work at the Ministry for Health. Obviously, education is of fundamental importance, because if a woman is educated, then it will be the woman herself being healthy, knowing about her rights, and she will also feed her children correctly. That's why in our republic now, in the last 15 years, we've been supporting women's education, and we've been supporting also children in poor rural areas. And then there are also credits being given to develop entrepreneurship amongst women. It's relevant amounts of money, and so also in the future we will keep providing this money for microcredit.
La parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président de séance. Professeur Amtijani de l'Université.
I come from Chad, from the University of Chad. And yes, I've seen very many women take the floor, but a lady said that we should educate also men. And this is absolutely true. We, as researchers, always focus on this. It's true, obviously, we need to nourish women and better, particularly when they're pregnant. Obviously, actually feed her twice, because otherwise, if the woman is not nourished correctly, the child will be underweight, will have a stunted growth, and so in the future we won't have somebody healthy and capable. That's why women's role in nutrition is very important, and also education is going to be very important for women as well as for men. I mean, women must be capable, children, girls must be capable of saying to their fathers, when I'll be a woman, I'll be able to feed my family.
Role of women in nutrition, but I just want to draw our attention on the do no harm indicator, because like the panelists mentioned, that women form the bulk of the smallholder farmers population, as well as 80% of the workforce of food production are women. As a nutrition advisor in IFAD, and in IFAD core business, about 50% of the target beneficiaries are women. So my message to SUN movement is to ensure that we have positive nutrition while involving women, while empowering women. We should ensure that we track and monitor the unintended adverse effects. Because yesterday we made mention of taking women's time on agriculture.
That's very, very important. Unintended adverse effects, women's time being taken away because they're doing too much business. Yes, sir.
Merci.
Vous avez demi-minute. Pardon.
Merci. Secrétaire général du réseau régional.
I'm a Chad MP, and women in Chad account for 52% of the overall population. Just imagine the energy, the amount of energy they provide to our country. We've been talking about nutrition. In Chad, women are present in all areas, in all businesses, but we don't have enough data available. I've said it repeatedly. I've told to our friends in the movement, please help us say what women are doing in the field of nutrition. All women in Chad live in vulnerable environments.
There are 30 people wanting.
30 persone adesso che chiedono la parola.
We have to stop. Now I got a really bad, sad face there. All right, give the microphone to this lady and I will speak less. I will cut my summary. Okay, I'm sacrificing my time for you, madam. So make it good. Look at the camera. Yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robina Mlenga Kofi. I'm from Zambia. I work for an institution called the National Food and Nutrition Commission. In Zambia, we are implementing a program called the 1,000 Most Critical Days program, targeting women and children. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what it means.
Do it in 10 seconds, please.
Yes, I will. Targeting women and children, because it's something that can be misunderstood. For me, for nutrition-specific interventions, it's a bit more straightforward, but nutrition-sensitive interventions, not so. For me, targeting women and children means targeting whole communities. We heard about grandmothers, targeting boys, targeting fathers, and everyone, using them as proxy to reach the women and girls. Because if we don't do that, we target the women and girls directly, we can distort things in the community and it might not work to.
Thank you very much indeed. Very important point. If you want to get the outcome, not necessarily just going all the time to the women, a point made by several of you. We have a fabulous panel. I'm going to ask each panelist to give us their 1-minute reactions, super 1-minute reactions to what they've heard. Nina, you're here, you've got a microphone there. And I see you've got stacks of notes. Give us the headline, please.
Social protection.
Now, volume first. This is not fair. Okay, try again.
Hello?
Okay, try again. It's all right. It's automatic. Try again. Hello? Does this one work? Okay, off you go.
Social protection need to be...
Could we have the mics on the panel mic, the sound on the panel mics, please? This one works. Yeah, I'm going to take 2 away. She's super mic'd, this lady. There we are. You imagine what their sessions are like when they're touring around in Indonesia doing nutrition. You have the floor.
Social protection need to be gender and nutrition sensitive so that women and girls are empowered and malnutrition problems addressed at the community level.
Thank you. Perfect. Yes, sir. Charles.
I said malnutrition is a vicious cycle. We need to break this vicious cycle. And we are looking at girls to start from. Good policies creates good enabling environment, be civil society or government. If we have those, it will really make a difference. So keeping girls in school, it will end child marriages. Thank you.
So it's education. Come on.
Let us continue to empower and give the relevant integrated multisectorial tools to our mothers or grandmothers so that they'll take ownership of the activities in the community and be the community actors they really are.
Women to own, to act, to lead. Thank you, Bibi.
One thing that did not come out very strongly are the cultural and traditional harmful practices.
That was a microphone falling on the floor. Don't worry.
Against women. We know that a woman's reality is informed by her, for her to make decisions, it's informed by her environment. Therefore, there needs to be a change in terms of how we share information, get women the tools, open up markets, and ensure equity and equality for women.
Thank you very much indeed.
My major message is that we need to package the nutrition messages for the MPs to take to the grassroots. MPs do reach the really great grassroots. Therefore, they need packaged information. Increase rural schools so that girls can go to school. These schools are very far apart in rural areas, 15 kilometers. How many times can you walk 15 there and back? It's not easy. So increase rural schools. Men also need to be educated on nutrition. Because when a woman cooks good food, which a man doesn't understand, in my house, please don't cook this thing. therefore educate the men as well to understand the issues of nutrition
Thank you.
that they support the woman.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah. As to health and nutrition, in addition to facilitating access to nutrition and health, which we all know in terms of information, prenatal checks, and breastfeeding, and all those fields, we need to facilitate access to participatory mechanisms, to decision-making mechanisms, which are fundamental in this field, in this moment of promotion.
As a movement, we need to make noise. And one powerful way to make noise is to use media, both traditional and social media, in a creative, correct, and current manner. In this journey, we need to build partnerships, maximize them more often with sectors that are not traditionally nutrition. For instance, organize groups of bloggers and even legislators who love the camera. This will help us put our message across to more people in a more relevant and popular and faster way. And if we make the right choices of media platform to use, we can reach more women, men, and youth and empower them to improve their nutrition and their lives.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Legislators who love the camera. Marc.
So I think we heard information is really top of the list and getting the right kind of information to decision makers. But I think we also heard that we really do need to listen to adolescent girls and what do they want. But in terms of the SUN movement moving forward, leadership needs to be at the top of our agenda internally in the movement and outside. But specifically, we also need to see where we can have the biggest impact. And I think that what's come out is targeting girls in schools, targeting entrepreneurs and farmers, and targeting the workforce.
Thank you very much. Joan.
Thank you. It's quite clear to us that we have to be using a variety of different platforms to reach, to consult, and to share information with adolescents and women in our communities so that we're better at reaching them with the programs and interventions that they need. It is quite clear that failure to do so will compromise our ability to reach World Health Assembly targets and the SDGs. And my conclusion is that can we, as powerful advocates in all our roles as we sit here, continue to advocate emphatically for the inclusion of maternal nutrition indicators in the SDGs? Without that, we will struggle to track our progress.
Thank you, Joan. Tom, I'm looking for you. Here you are. I'm now going to feed back on this panel to you, if that's all right, and to the wider group. First of all, we've had many comments from the panel and also from all of you on how this needs to be put at the center of our efforts, and that requires having the right information that is presented in an easily accessible form. So leadership within the movement in this area, first point. Secondly, information and data that make it possible. But the information is not just numbers, it's also some of the hard to quantify material about power. Sometimes power that is hidden, sometimes power that is quite destructive. And so it's really important to listen hard to the voices of women. Fourthly, again on approach, you can't work in this area without involving men as well as women, and women of all ages, not just girls, be they young or adolescent, not just young mothers, but grandmothers as well. But the men have to be part of the solution. Number 5, so much depends on whether or not women are able to access essential services, health services, or services for education. There are issues of justice and equity in here. There are rights instruments that can help make it possible that we heard about from several of you. So access, justice, and equity are key. 6, noise matters. And noise means using media, all forms of media, social media as well as broadcast media, and in particular having feedback so that what people think and say can be taken on board. 7, if we want parliamentarians to make a noise, we have to give them the ammunition to do so. And that means good quality information that really has meaning and resonance when parliamentarians are working. And listen to the parliamentarians because they are in contact with community groups. If we are in international organizations, point 8, we have to make sure that all the tools that are being used are actually good quality tools that help to empower women to act. 9, interventions do work, and community level, mother to mother, woman to woman, as self-sustaining groups are key, and they lead to empowerment and strength of women so that they can act. And then we have to recognize that special efforts are needed to help keep girls in school in order to try to prevent the early marriage, which so often undermines effective development and nutrition. And there are, again, instruments that need to be used to do this. Number 11, whatever we do, whatever programs we do, we must factor in the interests of women, whether it is social protection, whether it is health, whether it is education. They need to be sensitive to women's needs. And lastly, let us try to make sure that all of us get the right kind of statistics that enable these issues to be taken on board in decision-making, in the SUN movement, and in the whole effort to assess progress towards the Millennium Development Goals. We had many messages, Tom. That was just a selection of them. I would like, through you, to encourage all in the movement to have this right at the top of their heads, not just in this global gathering, but in the months and years to come. I'm super sorry that we couldn't involve everybody in this discussion. Our colleagues from the Secretariat, Unfanat, Edwy, Florence, and others are standing ready to help you continue the conversation throughout the rest of this global gathering and beyond.
David, thank you so much. And thank you to the great panel and to the audience for what I think was a wonderful session. But I really do want to say a special thanks to David. It's been wonderful that he's been able to be with us here both yesterday and today to see all that passion, energy and remarkable ability to synthesize and it's, you know, and to demonstrate all the qualities that enabled him to bring the Sun from its earliest days to the state of development that it has reached. So David, on behalf of everybody, thank you, and I think perhaps a round of applause.
And could I just ask you, please, because I didn't do it enough, we were so busy talking, we did not do the big clap for these fabulous panelists. Thank you again.
I want to talk briefly about the rest of the day and what we have ahead of us. I want to talk about the workshop sessions that we are going to move to. We've run a little bit over time, but that time has been taken out of the coffee break, and we want to continue to have the time that we have scheduled for the workshop sessions, so they will commence at 11 o'clock. And these workshop sessions are really important. So many of you have registered online for your session, but if you haven't done so, please consult the program and determine which sessions you would like to contribute to. And I want to again read out what these sessions are. The first one is on financial tracking on nutrition in rooms 1 and 2. Secondly, on agreeing on a common results framework for nutrition, room 5 to 6. Thirdly, engaging and mobilizing the media for nutrition, room 3 and 4. The fifth one, the development of functional capacities for scaling up nutrition in action, needs-driven coordinated effort, room 7 to 8. And then there is catalyzing the nutrition data revolution, Sun country perspectives, that's in the plenary room here. And then the last one is Discover the Sun movement in room 1. So I hope you perhaps have already made your decision and registered online, but if you haven't, you will see a list outside of these are the options for you, and please make your choice. So following the sessions, we're going to break for lunch, but if you are interested, we are having a working lunch round table from 12:45 to 13:45 here in this room, and the session is about the power of communication. And it's going to be led by the Public Relations Agency, M&C Saatchi and Weber Shandwick. And they have been doing a study which they've interviewed a number of people, including myself, on this issue of how to tell a better nutrition story. So the topic of their presentation, and I think it's very relevant to some of the comments that we had in this session past, the topic of their presentation is, can we tell a better nutrition story? So I would encourage any of you who are interested in this to resume here and come back here for the session from 12:45 to 13:45. From 1400, 2 o'clock, to 15:30, 3:30, we'll reconvene for another round of workshop sessions, and this time we'll have a different set of topics. Number 1, Section 2A in the programme, hard talk on nutrition-sensitive cost estimates. I think the whole issue of nutrition-sensitive interventions has really moved up the agenda in the past year, and this is a very relevant session in this regard. The second session then, 2B, budget analysis for nutrition. The third session, 2C, leveraging Parliament's role for better nutrition. And again, given the number of parliamentary voices we've heard in the past day or so, this is very relevant to that. The fourth session, session 2D, tools for preventing, identifying and managing conflicts of interest among nutrition actors in practice. And then the final session, one involving the Sun Business Network, the title is Scaling Up Food Fortification in Sun Countries with Business. And there was the very successful Food Fortification Summit in Arusha in September, and no doubt this session will be drawing on that. So after that, after those 2 sets of workshop reflections, we'll be coming back here to get reporting back to the plenary on these sessions, and that will commence at 16:30, 4:30 p.m. So off you go to coffee. Please resume at 11 o'clock in your respective workshop sessions. Thank you very much indeed.
You are just beautiful and loved by me.